Welcome to Giant Radio, where we're all about big ideas in sales and marketing and eye-popping discussions with successful entrepreneurs. Turn up the volume and settle in. Now, here's the founder of Giant Jacks Media and your host, Paul Hitchcock.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Giant TV. This is Paul Hitchcock. I'm the founder and president of Giant Jacks Media. This is my channel where I have interesting entrepreneurs doing amazing things on here. And certainly Jody LaVoie is one of them. Welcome, Jody.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Yeah, and you and I were talking offline. I just think what you're doing is incredible. You are in the corporate and individual bereavement space. You have your own firm. And I want to just start off by jumping into how did your firm come about? How did you get going here and why?
Yes, very good question. It's not like I went to college and said, I want to be in bereavement. Well, like most people who are in this space through a personal situation, I lost my husband 10 years ago in a workplace violence incident at our business. And he was the founder of that business. And so overnight, I found myself grieving, running a business and solo parenting, and also being a woman in business and leadership, which is challenging. And so, boy, it can be a perfect storm without the right support and tools. So grew the business, went on, sold the business and said, how can I use everything that I've learned, not only from the professional side, but also from the bereavement side, and tie those two together, which is what led me to do the work I do today. And I make workplaces grief literate, Paul, and everyone out there. Nobody knows how to talk about grief, to support grief, and plan for grief, because nobody wants to plan for that. That's never going to happen to me. And I'm here to tell you, you don't know what's going to happen. So the planning is important, and we bring our grief to work. We can't just check it at the door. They're back and forth. So
very true. Yeah. And I was going to say there too, Jody, it seemed like times have changed a bit where it's more acceptable now to talk about grief and be out there. Would you say that's true? Are you seeing that?
I would say it's more acceptable to talk about mental health for sure. And people don't always make the leap of, well, grief, of course, impacts your mental health.
Oh, yeah.
But they don't necessarily make that leap. But talking about feelings, people still aren't good at it, but it's a lot more acceptable.
Guilty.
And needed. I mean, employees are asking for it. That's one of the top benefits they want is, what kind of mental health coverage do you have? So it's also coming that way.
So that's interesting because, I don't think a lot of people really, that's on the top of their mind, is that, hey, there's resources at work to potentially tap into here. So how does that work? Do you, first of all, do most plans at companies have a bereavement focus or not?
Usually it's really simple, Paul, and not very robust. One, the average in the US number of bereavement days is 3 to 5. Wow. That's it. So you get your 3 to 5, you call in your manager, somebody close to me died. Okay, I'll see you in 3 to 5 days. Funeral ends, you got to be back at work. That's kind of how it works. Yeah. And you may have a few 2 to 3 visits with your EAP provider, your employee assistance provider, for some counseling. And that's kind of it. People don't know what to say to you. You come back to the office, and because nobody knows how to talk about grief.
No, awkward.
They'll say, I'm so sorry. And then the employee walks away and goes, check. I said something. That's all I need to say.
Yeah.
And everybody goes about their business, not really understanding how physically, mentally this person is affected by grief, how long grief actually lasts, which is, you're not done in 3 months grieving, tied in a nice little bow. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
And everybody else's lives kind of go on, but you're still trying to process what's happening. So you're not able to be productive as productive at work because you have brain fog. That's a thing with grief, and your brain gets temporarily rewired.
Yeah.
Can't think it straight. So
Yeah, no, I see it. And I know people mean well, but if I hear that thoughts and prayers one more time, it's like, that alone it drives me crazy. But I know people mean well. So when you go in, then who are your clients? Who do you want to work with?
yeah, so I have a couple different avenues. So one on the corporate side, human resource professionals or benefits providers or corporate leadership, because I do a few of the different things. One, I can consult and advise senior leadership on how do you plan for the unexpected? What are the best practices out there so your business is set up in anticipation of something that may happen? And those conversations go from the legal side to the financial side to your succession planning to how are you going to communicate all this, community involvement, culture, all of those types of things we get into. Secondly, training. I train employees and managers on what grief is, how to talk about it, how a manager can have a go-to support plan from when they get that call from an employee. They know what to say.
Yeah.
They actually know what their bereavement policy is, because 40% of employees don't even know what their policy is.
Right, interesting. Yeah.
And how to support that employee over a length of time, because it will take some time. And then I go into support and triage when there's an immediate death, because if a key member of the team dies, that's some major disruption and obvious feelings and emotions attached to that. And how do you process that as a team? How do you move forward as a team? And how do you, honor that person's legacy going forward?
Yeah, you and I were chatting a bit offline, and it was interesting, the whole succession planning, and you've been through it, personally, but yeah, there's a lot that goes on there in a lot of different areas. People think about passing the business to the next generation, but what if it happens suddenly? And are you prepared for it? And the pieces you were talking about, where you're the expert, the communication piece alone, how do you handle that? And you dive deep into that. I mean, communicating that to clients, keep the business healthy. I mean, that's a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And when my husband died, that was a big problem we had. And fortunately, the next day, our employees were on the phone to customers, reassuring them that business is continuing forward as is. I'm here, because customers need that kind of handholding.
For sure.
And especially if you're in the process of key negotiations, and the person that passed away was one of those major leaders in that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so Jody, when you go in to business to help them, what's the execution of that? Are you meeting initially with the owner, then the management team, or you pull everybody in at once? And how long does the engagement last?
It varies, Paul, based on what they want. Some companies have me come in and just do training for their managers and their employees. So that contact generally is their training person, their human resources person, their benefits manager, one of those types of contacts. I work frequently with smaller groups of business owners, YPO and EO, and in smaller forums, get together with 6, 8, 10 business leaders And we have more of a higher level kind of conversation about how to plan for the unexpected and how can you lead through loss and kind of go through all of those things.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great. Yeah, because you have a talk coming up for the YPO forum. You're going to be part of a panel, I think, the way you described it. Is that right?
It'll be me leading the conversation with 6 other business owners.
Got it.
So it'll be, I'll tee up the topics. I've got some best practices, and then we'll share experiences, and where there's holes and gaps, I will for sure step in and fill in with my expertise.
Yeah, no, I love it. And then Jody, you're also available for giving a talk, right? To business, as opposed to going in and starting off with help right away. A first step could be you giving a workshop to a business or forum on this whole area, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I do give keynotes and conversations on stages worldwide as well.
I love it. I love it. And do you feel when you start getting involved, is it hard to get people to open up to you and to get into these topics because of the nature of them? Or uh, is it flow pretty easily? People are ready for it.
Well, people know what they're coming in for the talk.
Yeah.
They're usually a little apprehensive, like, why are we talking about this at work? Because it's a new topic that generally isn't talked about at work, which is why it needs to be talked about at work. And people generally don't wake up and go, hey, honey, I've got a big talk today that I'm going to learn about grief. And they'll be like, okay, you go do that. But everybody leaves at having learned something, feeling more equipped for when somebody passes away that's close to them, whether it's at work or at home. They know what to say. They understand that it's not going to be over even in a year. And some important dates and how to better support each other.
Yeah, it's such an important area. I just want to tell everybody listening that highly encourage you to get connected with Jody. Her information will be around this episode, wherever you're watching it. We multicast this on YouTube, LinkedIn, so maybe it's up here or down here. And then Jody, I know the answer, but I'm going to just get it out there. Is you're available for a complimentary session? We'll get on Zoom with somebody and talk about what you do and what needs they may have, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. Love it. Great topic. And I know we're going to be talking again soon. So thank you, Jody.
Thanks, Paul.
All right.